Hi, my name is Dustin. I'm the lab manager here at the photo studio, and today I'm going to walk you through 7 steps to set up the equipment to get your studio day going. Today we will cover tethering your camera, starting up the application, turning on one light with the power pack, making sure we're in RAW, taking a properly exposed photo, exporting those photos, and then when we're all done, clean up everything and then shut everything off. Let's start off with turning on the camera. Now, I know this sounds simple, but for most students who have not used the DSLR, the on switch will be on the top right side of the camera. Next, it is essential that we tether the camera. Tethering allows you to connect your camera feed to the computer and get instant feedback viewing your recent capture on the computer screen. In each of the bays, there will be a tethering cable. You need to make sure that you bring the cable to the left side of the camera and plug it in. For step 2, you're going to want to make sure that you open the application you'll be using on your computer in your designated bay. Now, depending on your professor, the application may vary, but for this video, I will demonstrate with Capture One. Once you open Capture One, the first thing we will need to do is start a new session. You will need to go to the top left and click File. New session will be your second option. Now we will need to name your session. A session is essentially your project folder. Here, the naming convention may vary, whatever allows you to stay organized for each project. For this example, I will name it project_1. Next, we will need to make sure that we're saving it in the right folder. Click the 3 dots next to location, then go to desktop. Then click on your specific class folder. It'll have your course number and your professor's name. If this is your first time in the studio, you will need to make a folder to save all your sessions in. Click New Folder, then title it with your first and last name. Select your newly created folder, then hit Choose. Finally, you can hit OK. With that all said and done, let's do a test photo to make sure that it shows up on your monitor. Let's get into the setup process for working the lights. There will be a few steps you need to follow to ensure that your lights will work properly. You will first need to grab the power cable from behind the strobe light. Then you'll need to find slot number 1 and plug in the power cord. It is important to put the top in first. Once you hear the click, you know it is in. Then you'll need to flick the power switch to turn on the pack. If the strobe light is showing no light, we will need to check 3 things to turn the light on. First, you'll need to press the 1 button. The LED screen will show numbers, which lets you know how much power is being directed towards the light. If the strobe light is still not on, you will need to press the mod button, which stands for modeling light. If the strobe light is still not on, you will need to head to the back of the light and click the switch to on. Finally, the modeling light should be on. If the light is still not on, walk through these steps again or ask for help. If you need to set up multiple lights, just repeat the process we just went through. Now you are free to move the lights to wherever you please. Once that is all set up, you are just about ready to shoot. With there being many students using these cameras through the week, you need to make sure that you are shooting in a RAW file format. To do so, let's first check the top display on the left side. If it does not display RAW, you will need to click Menu on the back of the camera. You will then need to find the Photo Shooting menu, which is indicated with a camera icon. Then you'll need to scroll through the options until you find Image Quality. Next, you will click Image Quality and scroll through until you find NEF RAW. We are on the last step of setting up your camera before you take photos. In class, you will have learned the importance of ISO, shutter speed, and aperture. Let me give you a brief explanation of how to change these settings manually on your camera. Let's begin with ISO. You will need to have your ISO set at 100 while in the studio. If for some reason it has changed, press and hold the ISO button on top of the camera. Then scroll with the dial on the back of the camera to adjust the ISO. Moving forward, we're going to adjust the shutter speed. The preferred shutter speed setting in the studio is 1/200th. To change the shutter speed, you rotate the dial on the back of the camera. The final thing to check before shooting is your aperture. The aperture is your playground on figuring out how to properly expose your photo, as well as figuring out the depth of field. To change your aperture, you will use the dial in the front of the camera near the on and off switch. Now, you're finally ready to take your photos. You've officially taken your photos, but where do they go? Make sure you have a flash drive to export your recently taken images. So I know I said to export, but we're not actually going to export. You're going to want to plug in your flash drive, then open the flash drive folder, then open your course and professors folder, find your name, then click and drag the project folder onto your flash drive. Due to the large file size, this may take a bit. Lastly, make sure you properly eject your flash drive and you are ready to clean up the bay. Now that you know how to use the equipment, enjoy your time in the studio. But don't be afraid to ask any questions. Your UGTAs, lab manager, or professors are always here to help.